Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcast can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at ConsciousRadioNetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good day, everybody, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Mekis. If this is your first time tuning in, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and also don't forget to follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. Miracles, Science, and Spirit. Years ago, when she was focused solely on ministry, she was faced with serious health challenges. Doctor after doctor, prescription after prescription, and soon she was on a suitcase full of medications that came with a myriad of side effects with no improved quality of life. This sparked a journey of divine truth, love, and conscious living like nothing ever before. Today, she lives in a very different world. She's a neuropathic doctor, quantum scientist, linguist, and theologian. She integrating these desperate wisdoms into one language of miracles. Her scientific approach to miracles has helped countless people to remember truth, love, and purpose, and to reset their lives. Let's welcome to the seance for the first time, Dr. Sharnael. Welcome.
Wow, side effects and everything. That's so cute.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to keep the vibes positive on this show, and we got to. We have to uplift the entire human race.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about, the community.
We get to do that. I love that.
Yeah. So, the Science of Miracles, which is the title of and that's your latest book, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Cool. Let me bring that up so people can.
I was going to say, I got it right here. But
there you go.
You're quick.
Yeah. So how did this, first off, let's start, how did this journey start? I mean, what, from ministry into science?
Yeah, I mean, I always kind of have been a geek about like data and science and experiments, and I was the kid that got all the like shampoos and the salt and the pepper and the cleaning supplies and put it all in a bucket and acted like I was creating something like a crazy scientist kid, and kind of just loved experimenting and finding things out. But as far as like a spiritual journey, I was always very curious about that too. And, so a lot of left brain, a lot of right brain situation going on, and had a real drive to want to serve and help people. I see that you're a reverend. I went the whole route for a little bit on the ministry side as far as in an organized type situation for a bit, and that served its purpose for me in the realms that it did for a minute. And for those who are still there, that's awesome. And I bless you wherever you're at in the journey. For me, there were some things that weren't lining up in the particular denomination and or religion that I was at the time. And so between that and going through some health issues that also going through a divorce type situation. We were on television at the time. And so when the divorce happened, they did not renew our contracts or my contract. It was one thing to be a woman minister in this neck of the sphere of religion that I was in, but it's a whole different animal to be a divorced woman So I kind of had two strikes against me in their eyes. And yeah, I mean, even when I went to seminary, you mentioned you had been to New Orleans. They wouldn't let me major in religious ed as a woman at the time because I didn't have the right body parts. So they did tell me, you can marry a nice pastor or you can go to China and be a missionary. But in the States here, that was just like no can do. So I kind of thought that was interesting, but I, did all the things and I stuck with it. And then when the divorce happened, that was kind of like I got the boot and, had to land wherever I landed. And it didn't mean that I didn't love God or source or have a curiosity about any kind of spirituality. And I definitely still really had a focus towards service. But that season was pretty rough, to be honest, because everything that I had devoted my life to, friends, been faithful and loyal, it wasn't enough in their eyes. And also was having some health issues. And so wasn't seeing a whole lot of progress on that. And then because I lost my job and the relationship within, a minute, I was going through like 3 really major areas of my life that all seemed to be upside down, and to be honest, it was the best thing that ever happened. And for those of you who are going through something ridiculously seems like it's your worst, if you could please do everything you can to reframe that and just remember that God has your back, that you're probably just creating this for some sort of reason to have a better a leg up on whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, and that those things will present themselves just like they presented themselves to me. I moved in with my parents, thank God, or I would have been homeless. I had 3 children at the time, and we were there on the living room floor for a bit, sold my plasma, was on food stamp, the whole thing. And then I finally was, starting to kind of rebuild and find my place, and got a little rental apartment kind of house situation, and was still in this, like, trying to figure out, like, what happened? Like, how did I even get here? What do I do next? Like, what are the next moves? And was really seeking. And I don't know. For me, I used the only tools that I knew at the time, which was like fasting, praying. Those are the kind of stuff that had been socially engineered into me as just like, oh, this is how I'm going to get answers. And in the process of all that, I actually left my bedroom one morning and went out to my living room, and there were 2 ginormous, like 14-foot beings of light, like right in front of me. And I had seen one of them and experienced some things like this previous, but not to this level. Or it's kind of hard to compare because all of those times that weird supernatural things have happened, they're always exciting and terrifying all at the same time. But I was in shock. I didn't know if I was dreaming. I didn't know if I was going crazy. I was very scared, terrified. They must have knew that because instantly I heard, it's okay, don't be afraid. Not like that helped too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there were books, like, so my living room was there, but like on this other, like an overlay almost, was these lit up books that were stacked really tall everywhere. There was an ancient desk. All these books were just piled as taller than me. They were really big, fat, looked like old books. And so one of them looked kind of female, one looked kind of male, and the female version came around the desk and like sat down in this chair and opened this book. And me being curious, I went to go see like what's going on with the book. What is this? And still trying to like ask myself, am I dreaming? Is this fake? I had taught on dreams and visions, and I have a lot of dreams. So I just thought this is a great dream, came around, and I started looking to see what's in these books. And it was record after record of people's names, what they were sick of, how they got healed, and what date. And then it was another line after line of just people that I didn't recognize, people I didn't know. I wasn't familiar with the names. And she looks at me and she says, "What do you want?" And she didn't say it with her mouth. It was like I just heard it as she turned to me. And then I say back in my mind, I want to be a part of that. And when she did, she looked over at the other guy. The guy kind of looked at her like, okay. And then she points her finger at me, really kind of more stern than she even was a few minutes ago. Like, that's possible. And really scared me. And then she very, very directly looks into my eyes and says, "Tell them they're not truly living unless they're living true." And as soon as she said that, slammed the book, everything was gone. I'm just standing there, completely, literally vibrating from the inside out, puzzled, confused, again, trying to figure out, like, was that real? Am I in a dream? Everything's gone. My living room is back.
Yeah.
And I'm just like scattered, and I felt very weak and had to go sit down on the couch. I grabbed a journal and a pen. And because I teach on dreams, one of the big things about dreams is write everything down as soon as possible. And I knew that when you wake up, if you write it down, it's easier to remember if you go back to sleep. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm dreaming and I write it down in my dream, and then when I wake up, I write it down again, then I'll have a double be able to remember this. Like, I wanted the kinetic and the visual of me, like, really getting entrained into whatever, because I started getting all these formulas and equations and imagery on how the mechanics of our biofield works, how there were words that I had to literally write down and look up. I actually did not wake up, so it wasn't a dream. I kept waiting to wake up, and I never did, unless we're still in a dream right now and I just don't know it.
Yeah. A very long dream.
And it was, it just was probably not very long at all. But the stuff that was given to me, I had to look up. What is an echo wave? What is a standing wave? I didn't know some of these terms even. And that's when you really know that something has bypassed all of this and just landed somehow. And I just wrote, little pictures so I could remember, and started telling people about my experience. And I knew that the whole, you're not truly living unless you're living true, I knew that there were so many layers to that. I knew that it wasn't just hey, don't tell a white lie, you're going to be in trouble. I knew that it vibrated within me so deep. And I knew that meant who you hang out with, who you partner with, who you give money to, who you earn money from, what you buy, what you don't buy, what you eat, what you drink, where you live, what kind of house you have, what kind of car you have, every aspect of every little intricate part of who we are and what we do 24/7 is either what's true to me and or what isn't true to me. And when we are embodying that truth, there's a cascade of chemicals that saturate our cells, our organs, our body, that give us life, that give us immunity, that hydrate us, that keep us young. And then there's this whole other thing when we're not living true that does the total opposite. It suppresses the immune system, dehydrates the body, causes us to wrinkle, causes the hair to go gray, cloudy thinking, and anything less than your highest choice will always contain self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So I have been on a journey at this point to really help people remember the frequency of love and how to remember authenticity, how to embody that. When I test scalar waves, love was pretty high, and I think God is love, and so of course that would be pretty high up there. But what was interesting is authenticity actually scored higher. And my theory is when we are authentic and we embody that, that is the highest form of unconditional love, not only to ourselves, but to anyone that we touch and to our whole planet as a collective. And if everyone would be doing exactly what they're supposed to all the time and not doubt themselves or listen to externals or, all the things that we manage and deny and or ignore, I think the whole world would just have such a tipping point that we would be in a whole different timeline. Yeah. And I think we're getting there in some ways. I think there's been a lot of changes even in the last couple months. So anyway,
that brings up it segues not necessarily into the next question, but kind of the next thought that you brought up as far as being authentic, being true to yourself. This show should resonate and go for our younger viewers out there. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure we're all guilty of it. When we're younger, when we're teenagers, getting into our 20s and stuff like that, we're always out there to impress people. We're trying to be someone we're not, especially in our younger days. We're always trying to be someone that we're not. And it's hard to do. But I think that's why this conversation right now is important for our younger viewers, is to wake up, be authentic, be true to yourself, because otherwise you're going to sabotage your timeline.
Yeah, and even competition, it's like this illusion. There is no competition, but I know for myself, there were times I would look at this person or that person and be like, man, I want to be like that. Or I want to be like that. And it's like, dude, you're the only you, bro. I'm the only me. We get to be us in the way that we do us and the way that we walk our life out. And who's to say what you're supposed to do or what I'm supposed to do? I mean, when we are walking in our true path of what that is, whatever that looks like, we are completely sponsored by God and grace for that path. And I mean, financially, resources, and there's a scripture that says, seek ye first the kingdom, and then all of these things will be added unto you. It's not everything's added unto you and then seek the kingdom. And first of all, where is the kingdom? This is my kingdom, and this is my kingdom, this aura, this field of electronics that radiate out and also magnetize. And when we seek ye first, that's when we're sponsored. That's the most magnet thing we can do to bring in more resources, more people, more things that help pile together and create this beautiful tapestry of whatever it is we're supposed to be doing. And you might be able to do things that I can't, and vice versa, even the weirdest things like get a tattoo or eat carrots or, and be aware of that. And even be aware of call your mom or go to this grocery store or, change this up and go a different direction today than you normally would, take a different road or, just again, listening to this as much as we can be aware of it, when we can calm the noise down and really focus on what it is we're supposed to be doing moment to moment to moment. But I think a lot of times, I know in my life, things can get busy and shuffly, and sometimes I'm not always tuned in to hearing or even being aware of what that direction is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So how does, now this book is, and we're getting into the quantum aspect, kind of like there is really no separation between the divine and science. I think they coexist.
I agree.
And science is the recipe of the divine, in my opinion. It's the cookbook, really. So how does the quantum physics influence this interconnectedness that we have around us?
Yeah. So, and I agree. I people who've been like, when I went back to school to be a naturopath, there was all these people who were like, I can't believe you're leaving the ministry, even though I was kind of booted out. And we hope that you come back sometime. So I was like, I feel like I have the biggest ministry I ever had now, because I'm way outside the walls of the church or whatever organized situation that was. And again, the biggest store of service ever is helping people reclaim their love, their life, their frequency, their abundance, their health, all of those things. And but with the technology that we have, this field or aura or electronic belt or whatever we want to call it, it's all a radiation of what we think about, what we talk about, definitely what we're feeling. There's radiations from our organs, from our cells, from our muscles, from our bones, from our teeth. There's ancestral residual from what we were born into with the mitochondria and our DNA. And we can have an alignment in all of those things, or we can have a disalignment, meaning like I could think about all the positive things and I could force myself to really say positive things, but in my mind or in my heart, maybe I really don't mean it, or I have fear about it, or there's doubt about it. And so that'll give like a 2-step forward, 1-step back kind of energy, where we can kind of get stuck or not really get anywhere, or create more of that to cause more confusion and just more stagnation. And then 2, we can be in complete alignment with, I call this the Trinity, where 2 or more are gathered. This is it right here. And when this is connected, you can still have some ancestral doubt. Like maybe grandma tried to, date a guy or whatever, and then she got shut down, or she tried to start a business and it didn't work. And so you can have some genetic equations that could be a minus there that you aren't even aware of, or some sort of subconscious programming that you witnessed something as a kid. And so there's a little bit in there in the equations to take away. And so that's usually when I see like what I call energetic purgatory, where people are just kind of like not even knowing why they can't get forward or why they're not getting that traction, but it's still there. And so I like to listen, because I can hear with conscious language, especially after that encounter. I've really been able to almost like hear the snag or see visually what's going on through biofeedback or just intuition, and go like, well, this is what's going on, and use body language and some of the other tools to go like, okay, now that we move this out, you're going to see a streamline, and that little hiccup is going to be gone, and you'll have a new pattern.
Yeah. Now, for the title, Miracles is the science of miracle. What are your thoughts as far as I have always felt this, that miracles are kind of just a word that we use because we just don't understand what it really is that's actually happening, the process that's actually happening. Do you explain a little bit in that book what miracles are and how they actually manifest?
Yes.
And that they are natural.
That's a great question and concept. I agree. They are natural. I think a lot of the things in the ancient texts where these guys and girls are doing these amazing things, healings and bilocation and immortality, and I think these should be natural and not supernatural, and I'm seeing more and more of it. I talk a lot about all of those things in the book, bilocating. I've done it a couple times accidentally. That's a whole different, fun some stories here. But yeah, a lot of it, as far as the definition, my definition might be different than yours, but perspective is everything. And I look at life as a miracle. And none of us watching or listening, sitting right here are having to say, "Hey, heart, don't forget to beat," and we're all breathing without having to tell ourselves how to do it. Maybe sometimes. But our hair grows. We're constantly, restoring our body. If something gets cut, it's going to be healed up in a bit. And what's interesting too is in scripture, it talks about healing quite often. And when I would look at the word healing, about 80% of the time that you would see the word healing, it was mistranslated. Some of the words healing meant instant, like boom, there was some quote miracle that happened, and boom, there was like this way, and then now you're this way.
Yeah.
But most of them were a word called therapeio, which is where we get the word therapy or therapist, which means taking on some sort of practice over time and then getting healed in a longer time, which some people might not look at going to a therapist as a miracle. Some people might not look at it as a healing. Some people might not go to physical therapy and consider, hey, I'm healed, even though it took 16 weeks, But again, that's still a miracle to me, because your body is relearning how to do something. Maybe it got broke, or you lost the ability to know how to do it, but then you retrained your body back. And so those are miracles to me too, as well as synchronicities.
Oh yeah.
Like, ever get like a thought in your mind about someone, and then like they text you and you're like, "Whoa, look at that. That's like, I was just thinking about you." Or this has happened to me so many times in podcasts. I literally, like 5 or 6 times this week, put on a certain clothing that I normally don't wear. For example, I put on a shirt that I've never worn in my life, that had NOLA on it, New Orleans, NOLA.
Yeah.
And I was being interviewed by a lady in Colorado, and she's from New Orleans. And, and then yesterday I had one on with Sacred Geometry, and her background was the exact shirt I was wearing. And and just things like that, where it's like, I'm just not even on purpose trying to be prophetic or psychic or anyway, but it's just like little fun God winks that I'm on the right track, and to pay attention to those little things like, hey, put that shirt on today, because it gives me more confidence, with little things to take on some of the bigger things, like, hey, go invest in this, or hey, go get on the plane and go wherever, or some of the things that might take a little more confidence and trust to do. But all those little things add up to make me go, yeah, I know that voice, and I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's like you're being in alignment with everything. That first law of thermodynamics, the law of attraction, and like energy attracts like energy.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. And trying to describe this to, needless to say, the layman, but it just, I had a thought while you were explaining the miracle aspect, is to the layman, or the archaic aspect of a miracle, is kind of like saying all of technology as well can be a miracle, like the cell phone. That's a miracle. The internet is a miracle. Going to the dentist is a miracle. I mean, anything and everything within our technology that we use today. Glasses is a miracle. Could you imagine back in the day you couldn't see? Yeah, it's just, just wear these, you'll be fine. You know?
That's so true. I mean,
So,
honest to God, that is amazing. I haven't thought about those kind of things,
yeah. And I'm
but
thinking that we are merging into the precipice where miracles, what we think of miracles today, are going to be completely like, oh, that's normal. That happens every day.
like going cars and med beds and
Yeah.
all of the things that are coming up in this golden age that are just going to rock our world, literally.
Yeah. Yeah. So where can people find you? For those who are watching, your website scrolling down on the bottom, but for those who are listening, where they can find you and what they can expect on your website.
Yeah, thank you. My website is www.drdr Sharnael, Sharnael, like Israel, Dr. Sharnael, .com. I have, oh gosh, maybe 10 or 15 workshops on there for those people who are interested in learning more about outcome mapping or the science of miracles or liver cleanses or muscle testing and kinesiology. I have some on there about crystals and essential oils and, kind of those kind of things. I do speak live and I have a couple events coming up in New York City as well as Florida. I'm leaving for Miami tomorrow. I have an online course on the 2nd coming up. That's just a Zoom that you guys can participate in. My books are there. I do have a podcast every Thursday at noon, and we like to talk about all the fun paranormal, Bigfoot, aliens, angels, energy. I think you would like some of the people that are on there. Similar to what you're doing is really kind of bringing up the new fun things to talk about. But yeah, and I do biofeedback and do consultations, and I have about 15,000 clients in over 51 countries, and I work a lot with people online to find their abundance again, to find their health, to figure out whatever snags or patterns that someone may be stuck in, and immediately just remove that so we can get you guys into a better space and a higher timeline that is going to bring you more fun and more joy and more ease and all the things.
Yeah. Wow. And I was gonna ask you, what do you see happening that is going to be a blessing to the human race, and as far as technology, as far as miracles, as far as our availability of healing, and what you feel that we should be looking forward to in the next 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, I really do think the sky's well, you know what? The sky isn't the limit.
Right.
I was going to say that, but that's the program. I feel like people are waking up in big, big ways. There's been so much disclosure. I think that will continue to happen, and people are going to continue to realize that maybe things weren't what they thought they were. There's a lot of shifting happening, and a lot of this is bringing an awareness and a consciousness to the entire planet, because anything that happens to you and me and us as individuals, that all adds to the collective, as you know, and that Schumann resonance, and the frequency is getting higher. And what I'm seeing is manifestation is happening a lot faster, just because specificity is really important, but also desire and emotions. And so there's a lot of really strong emotions happening where we're seeing things like turn around, like judgments happening, right? Like come right back on people, and or positive things coming right back on people, like pretty quickly. So we're going to be able to create better. I also think with this chain of, coming from a naturopathic thing, I'm a big fan of the new administration as far as health goes. And I think if we eliminate a lot of the stuff in the food, the water, the air, like this has been messing with our mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're clear of this stuff and we really detox and get parasites out and really cleanse up, what we're doing and what we're, that is going to really shift like our own ability to think. We're not going to be as dumbed down. It's going to cause another ripple effect on the world, just to tap back into the electronics and the mechanics of how we're built and creating miracles and creating anything. And so that's just going to hardwire so many opportunities to just explore and have fun and be in adventures for inspiration, ideas, more collaborations. And I am like so excited. I don't know if you could tell, but we're in a very interesting season of opportunity, and I'm riding this wave, and I'm like, yay, this is awesome, finally.
Yeah. It's the changing of the guard, so to speak, the old thoughts, the old practices, the old ways. It's like, why are we even doing that? Why do we even think this way? Why do we even do these things? They're meaningless. They don't serve our highest and good, for the higher good for us. People are going to start realizing that and waking up going, whoa, okay. And not only that, as far as the collective, like there's going to be some things that are going to really shake, I feel are going to really shake to the core. Some groups, definitely groups. The best way to say it is.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it where people who I never would have thought would have been more natural in approach to even like medicine, for example, that they're like, what? That's, and I'm like, dude, I've been saying this for a decade. And they're like, what? Chemtrails are real? Or, I'm not going to say the word, but the stuff that happened with all that and, those things coming to the surface. And, it's sad that so many people had to literally lose their lives over this drama. But hopefully we won't have a part 2, and this will wake some people up to really, keep that at bay for at least for a little while, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So before we wrap it up, what would you like to offer as a takeaway? Some words of wisdom.
Yeah, definitely just be yourself, authenticity, and 2, clearing emotions and trauma is really big. I just uploaded a new course that's actually free. If you go to drsharnael.com, there should be, if it works, I'm not technical as you are, but there's supposed to be a pop-up that comes up that says like, hey, do you want to take this free course? If you give me your email, I will send it to you. But basically, if you can clear the mechanics, you're going to be sharp and you're going to be able to create a lot better. And especially when you put all your focus in that alignment in there. Yeah. So that's something you guys can check out, and it's completely free, and maybe it'll start the ball rolling for some other things that you could see positive in your life.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and we'll have all that information. We'll have your website in the show description. Definitely check that out. And wow, awesome. And enjoy your trip to Florida.
Yes, Miami. We love Florida. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and your service and your awareness and bringing it to light. And, with everything that's going on, like every little bit extra that we can add to the consciousness is like, to me, you're like a brother. We're all just doing this together in our little ways that we can.
Yeah. We're light workers. We're energy workers. We're here to help elevate everybody to the next dimension, that next shift. It's either that, get on the train, or stay. Just
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Sharnael, thank you very much. Namaste, my friend.
Yes, you too. Thank you. Keep in touch. Appreciate you guys.
Definitely. Will do. Okay. Likewise.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. And until next time, we'll see you then.